All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to CBB Review Courtside. This is Season 4, Episode 4. We have a very special guest today. Before I get to that, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We had Jared Bynum, Stanford point guard, on just a few days ago, so make sure to check that out. And also, make sure to check out our social medias at CBB Review on X and Instagram. Today we have, from the Ohio State, Jamison Battle. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing pretty good. How's the atmosphere around Ohio State? You know, we're under 40 days away from college basketball season. Is everyone kind of getting into that mindset?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think we obviously practices officially started this Monday, so it's been good. And I think a lot of people on our roster are excited just with the way the season finished for them last year. And I think with the guys we have coming in and the guys who stayed, I think there's a lot of, like I said, excitement, and we're just raring to go. We're working hard. We worked hard this summer, and then in the fall it was a lot of the same things we did in the summer. And then now that practice has officially started, it's coming down to crunch time.
Awesome. Well, we'll come back to Ohio State and the team this year a little bit, but first I kind of want to hear, after 2 seasons at Minnesota, kind of what made you decide to, one, enter the transfer portal and also transfer to Ohio State?
Yeah, no, I think after last season, my goal was to go pro, and I think I was really thinking about that after the season ended. But then, having conversations with my family, had people close to me, it was really the idea that, you have your 5th year, and I considered it a luxury, being able to come back to college for another year because of COVID. And then looking at it, I didn't have the best year last year, and I kind of knew that. And understanding that I had that extra year, it's like, why not use that extra year? And then in choosing Ohio State, I think when I was in the portal, obviously this being my second time in the portal, I kind of knew what I wanted. I knew what to expect. And with that, Ohio State, I felt like I was the most wanted. And I think as a player and as a person, you want to go where you're most wanted. And I think Ohio State was the perfect fit for me with what they lost last year. And then the big selling point for me was how they finished last year as well, and ended up in the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament with a lot of younger guys. So I think, just as someone who has been in college for now 5 years and been in the Big Ten for 2 years, I think just bringing experience to this team and then bringing what I know and how I know I can play, I think it was just, a good match.
Yeah, you kind of just mentioned been in the Big Ten for 2 years. You got one more year at a different school. So I feel like Big Ten kind of gets a bad rap just because they haven't had that national championship in a while. But every year they have a lot of great teams, a lot of great competition. So tell me a little bit what makes the Big Ten such a great conference, especially for basketball.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, the Big Ten, I've talked to a lot of people about this, a lot of my friends. I think it's the NBA, the G League, and the Big Ten with how it's officiated, with how physical it is. And I think that's the one thing that I realized, playing Michigan State at Minnesota for my first career Big Ten game, you realize, like, wow, like you're in the Big Ten now, you're not in the A-10. And I think that was something that was pretty eye-opening to me. But then as you've been in there, you have that comfortability for being in the Big Ten 2 years, and it's like, it's just a different level. It's a different animal. And I think you see that in the tournament with Big Ten teams too, just because, you only see a very few get to that second weekend. But I think with, the talent the Big Ten has this year and then returning a lot of people, I think you'll see a lot more teams, make it to that second weekend. And I'm excited for the league, not only for Ohio State, but for the league, just because, as someone who's been in it for now 3 years, you get to know a lot of people, and a lot of people outside of it anyway. But just to see the success of the Big Ten is big for the conference. And, you want to see success in the conference, obviously, with some teams.
Yeah, I think you really lucked out because you get to play in the Big Ten and you don't have to do all the travel that all these other guys are going to have to do next year with going to the West Coast and those early tip-offs and all that.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so kind of staying on the Big Ten, obviously transferring from one Big Ten school to another, you get to play Minnesota twice this year. Have you thought about that at all, how that's kind of going to work and how you're going to feel going into those games?
Yeah, I've thought about it a little bit. Being at Minnesota for 2 years and being home for 2 years, it means a lot. And I feel like there's the program, it's on the rise. And I think that was something that, Coach Johnson told me when I first got there. And I think the goal for me was just to help lay the foundation down. And I feel like I did that. And, obviously things happen and where, I think you kind of need to change the scenery, and being at home for 2 years was great. But then I feel like there's distractions with it. But, like I said, I have nothing but respect for them. And I think, I don't want to make it something it's not, but I think, it's just another game. Obviously, going to Minnesota is going to be a little bit emotional, a little bit different just because you graduated from there. You're from there. You've been born and raised in Minnesota. But, I think just don't want it to be too much of a distraction when you're going back home. But, it'll be fun. A lot of the guys on the team I still know, I still stay in contact with. So it'll be good to see those guys. And then obviously playing at Williams Arena as an away team. It's going to be a little bit different, and we'll see what the atmosphere is like. But it's nothing better than playing in the barn, especially for someone who's from Minnesota. So it'll be exciting to play those two games. But it's another two league games in a sense. So I don't want to make too big of a deal out of it, but it's just like that.
Yeah, I know your sister's on the basketball team in Minnesota, so this season goes well at Ohio State, you might have to convince her to make that switch over to.
Oh yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and also kind of like what I wanted to mention is something I just found interesting is, as you probably know better than anyone else, you probably were the reason Rutgers season ended last year. You hit that buzzer beater. That you can't say that's exactly why they lost, why they missed out on the NCAA tournament, but it was definitely a big reason why. And looking at your schedule this year, last game of the season at Rutgers again. So I'm sure Rutgers fans aren't too excited to see you show up that game, but hopefully you guys will be clear in the tournament at that point. And kind of moving on to this season. So do you have any individual or team goals for the season? I know you're getting kind of close to 2,000. I think you have to average about 18 points a game in order to do so. Obviously make the tournament, but is there anything you've kind of written down before the season that you kind of want to make sure you get to?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is making the tournament. Ohio State, it's been in the tournament the last 7 out of 8 years. I think last year was the first year they hadn't made it under Coach Holtman. So I think that was a selling point to me. But I think it's just I've been in college for 4 years and I haven't won a lot. And I think the main goal is just to do whatever I can to contribute to winning. And I think that's the individual goal too, is just be at my best when my best is required. And to be in college for 4 years and to not have that opportunity to play in the tournament, I think that was another reason why I wanted to come back. When you're sitting in your room watching all these March Madness games in March, you're looking like, man, it's been 4 years, and what am I going to tell my kids when I'm sitting down watching these games with them? It's like, oh, you never got to play in the tournament, man. That sucks. Obviously, it's not guaranteed, but I think we have the roster and we have the chemistry and the makeup to make a run at the tournament, and then also make a run in the tournament. So, it starts right now. It started in the summer with the work we've been putting in the fall, but I think the biggest thing for me is to play in that tournament. And I think that's something that every kid who picks up a basketball dreams of, especially when you get to college. And I think that's just the main reason, one of the main reasons why I came back to college. And I think that's the main goal for not only for me, but I think for our team as well.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned kind of doing whatever it takes to win and to help the team. So how do you kind of see your role being this year? And also, what have you kind of done to improve your game this offseason to kind of take it to that next level?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is conditioning. I think last year I wasn't in the best shape just because of the injury before the season, and also hurt my back during the season. So it was hard for me to get a consistent flow. And I think that's something that I've really tried to work on this summer and this fall, is just being in the best shape possible. And it's something that the coaching staff has told me that, when you're in the best shape possible, that's when you're going to reap the benefits of it. And I think with that, I think being able to go for long periods of time and stuff like that, being able to shoot when you're tired and stuff like that, where it's like those impact the game. And I think, just like I said, being in the best shape possible for me is how I've really tried to change my game. I think, being a consistent shooter as well from three-point range, and then also just, contribute to the team, whether that's, making shots or creating for me. And I think also, being an older guy, I got to come in, step in and be a leader. Obviously I don't know much or haven't known much about Ohio State when being within the program, but there's guys on the team who know that and that can help lead me. So it's a two-way street from everyone on this roster, where, you got older guys who have experienced it and can lead in that fashion, that you got guys who have been at Ohio State for 4 years or 2 years now that know what the program's about, know what the culture's about, and that can teach me and these other older guys who came in that about Ohio State. So I think it's going to be really unique for us, just because you got so many guys who have been through a lot of different things, and that can help, bring the commonwealth of the team together. And I think we all have the same goals, and in order for us to achieve those goals, we got to push each other and hold each other accountable. So I think that's the biggest thing, where accountability wise, as a leader, I have to hold people accountable. And also, I'm going to get held accountable as well, just because, we all have goals and we all want to reach the top.
Yeah, that's why I love that Ohio State brought you in this season because last year I think one of the reasons they really struggled was they were young. You had Zed, you had a couple other guys on that team, a couple transfers, but I think the leadership was a little bit off just because a lot of the younger guys really don't have that leadership skills and experience. So kind of bringing someone in like you who's been a leader for all 4 years to kind of coach up these younger guys like Scotty Middleton and Chapman and Thornton and Akpara, guys like that. I think it'll really help the team and kind of get you guys back in the right direction.
Oh, for sure. No, it's exciting with all these young guys too. Like the way they finish. Like I talk about that a lot. But to show that they were 13th in the Big Ten last year, and to finish the season the way they did, I think that's really promising. And a lot of those young guys who were there, they're back. And then you add a few pieces in the portal, like me, like myself, like Dale Bonner, like Evan Mahaffey. Like there's just a lot of guys who, are coming together and we want to win. And I think that's what's so special about it, that you don't see a lot of egos, and we're all for the team.
Awesome. All right. One last question. I think the number one rule of being an Ohio State Buckeye is you have to hate Michigan. So have you already crossed out the M in Jamison, or are you still working on that and kind of become a Michigan hater?
No, I'm still working on that, but I think, I can't say Michigan. You got to say the team up north. I think that's the biggest thing for me is just, understand it's a big rivalry. But I think from, being in Ohio now, you're not a big fan of the team up north, and then also being from Minnesota, I'm not a big Wisconsin fan either when it comes to that. So I got two states in the Midwest that I'm not big fans of. So it's a challenge, but you got to respect the rivalries.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for taking the time. I know you said practice started this week, so everything's kind of ramping up. But everyone, make sure to check out Jamison and Ohio State this year. Big Ten's looking good this year. There's two great teams. In Michigan State and Purdue, and Ohio State's also looking really solid. So thank you again. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening to CBB Review Courtside, and we'll be back soon.